We turned the switch, saw the flashes, watched for 10 minutes, then turned everything off and went home. That night I knew the world was headed for sorrow. Physicist Leo Szilard, atomic bomb builder. It was a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 1,000 suns, rose in all its splendour. It was an unknown weapon which reduced the ashes to the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Andhakas. The corpses were so burnt as to be unrecognisable. The hair and nails fell out, pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. The Mahabharata. During the first Egyptian pyramid war between Horus and Seth, Horus strikes, and he let loose against them a storm which they could neither see with their eyes nor hear with their ears. It brought death to all them in a single moment. Sitchin, 1985. This sounds to me like the gamma-ray neutron pulse from a sub-kiloton nuclear weapon, which has no fireball and the nuclear radiation extends far beyond the blast wave. Zeus battles the Titans. The hot vapour lapped around the Titans of Gaia born. Flames unspeakable rose bright in the upper air. The flashing glare of the thunderstone, its lightning blinded their eyes, so strong it was. Astounding heat seized chaos. It seemed as if earth and wide heaven above had come together. A mighty crash, as though earth was hurled to ruin. Also were the winds brought rumbling, earthquake and dust storm, thunder and lightning. Sitchin, 1985. Zeus conquering Typhon. A flame shot forth from the stricken lord in the dim, rugged, secluded valley of the mount when he was smitten. A great part of huge earth was scorched by the terrible vapour, melting as tin melts when heated by man's art. In the glow of a blazing fire did the earth melt down. Sitchin, 1985. Biblical references to nuclear warfare. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah as he beheld and saw smoke rising from the earth, as the smoke of a furnace. Genesis 18:27. And the Lord sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt. Exodus 9:23. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Bethoron, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them to Azkah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Joshua 10:11. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. 2 Kings 1:12. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Psalms 21:19. A fire goeth before him, and burneth up his enemies around about. Psalms 97:3. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. Isaiah 29:6. There are many other clues regarding nuclear warfare. Childress discusses ancient atomic warfare. First, Hattusis in Turkey, where parts of the city are vitrified, and the walls of rock are partly melted. He then discusses Sodom and Gomorrah and compares them with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He thinks of Sodom, Gomorrah, Zor, Admah, and Zeboim, Genesis 14:2, were destroyed, creating the Dead Sea. He quotes L.M. Lewis, Footprints on the Sand of Time, who argues for atomic explosions, and he quotes from the Mahabharata, an excellent description of an atomic battle, in which Arjuna is given a celestial weapon, which he cannot use against humans, for it might destroy the world, but he could use it against any foe who is not human. From the Mahabharata, as quoted by Charles Berlitz, 1972, is probably the best description of ancient atomic warfare one can find. It was a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 1,000 suns, rose in all its splendor. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Antakas. The corpses were so burnt as to be unrecognizable. Their hair and nails fell out, pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from this fire, the soldiers threw themselves into streams to wash themselves and their equipment. Steinhauser, 1975, relates a story from the Ramayana. When the god Rama was threatened by an army of monkeys, he put a magic arrow into action. This produces a flash of lightning stronger than the heat from 100,000 suns, turning everything to dust. The hair of survivors fell out, their nails disintegrate. We know of such magic weapons from Sodom and Gomorrah and from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, Pakistan. Dave Davenport, 1996, who spent 12 years studying ancient Hindu scripts and evidence at the site of Mohenjo-Daro, declared in 1996 that the city was instantly destroyed 2,000 years BC. The city's ruins reveal the explosion's epicenter, which measures 50 yards wide. At that location, everything was crystallized, fused or melted. 60 yards from the center, the bricks were melted on one side, indicating a blast. The horrible, mysterious event of 4,000 years ago was recorded in the Mahabharata. According to that text, white-hot smoke that was 1,000 times brighter than the sun rose in infinite brilliance and reduced the city to ashes. Water boiled, horses and war chariots were burned by the thousands. The corpses of the fallen were mutilated by the terrible heat that they could no longer look like human beings. From one of the oldest chronicles of India, the Book of Daizan. Separation did not bring peace to these people, and finally their anger reached a point where the ruler of the original city took with him a small number of his warriors, and they rose into the air in a huge shining metal vessel. While they were many leagues from the city of their enemies, they launched a great shining lance that rode on a beam of light. It burst apart in the city of their enemies, and with a great ball of flame that shot up to the heavens, almost to the stars. All of those who were in this city were horribly burnt, and even those who were not in the city but nearby were burnt also. Those who looked upon the lance and the ball of fire were blinded forever afterward. Those who entered the city on foot became ill and died. Even the dust of the city was poisoned, as were the rivers that flowed through it. Men dared not go near it, and it gradually crumbled into dust and was forgotten by men. When the leader saw what he had done to his own people, he retired to his palace and refused to see anyone. He then gathered about him those warriors who remained, their wives and children, and they entered their vessels and rose one by one into the sky and sailed away, nor did they return. David Childress, 1999, also represents sketches of the citadel of Mohenjo-Daro and a discussion of its destruction by nuclear explosion. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were the main cities of the Harappa culture and of the Indus Valley, an amazingly uniform and advanced urban civilization existing between 2500 and 1500 BC, the beginnings of which remain obscure. About Parashapur, near Srinagar, Kashmir, David Childress states, "It is a scene of total destruction. Huge blocks of stone are scattered about a wide area, giving the impression of explosive annihilation." Zachariah Sitchin, 1985, devotes an entire chapter to this discussion of nuclear warfare in ancient times in Mesopotamia and the Sinai Peninsula. In his book, he also suggests the destruction of the Sinai space facilities by nuclear weapons. He offers as evidence the immense cavity in the center of the Sinai and the resulting fracture lines, the vast surrounding flat area covered with blackened stones, traces of radiation south of the Dead Sea. The near extent and shape of the Dead Sea is still there 4,000 years later. He maintains that the radioactive fallout from this operation wiped out the area around Sumer for a period of 70 years until 1953 BC. So did the gods use nuclear weapons in their struggles with each other and with mankind? You be the judge.